How did you get to Seneca?
I came to Seneca by looking at military strategy, and also through exposure to a lot of military strategy, and a lot of military writing is based on Stoic philosophical principles. Specifically, Marcus, and the two cited sources are generally Marcus Aurelius, or actually three cited sources are Marcus Aurelius and his book Meditations, which was effectively a war journal, like a war campaign journal. The second is Epictetus, Epictetus, let me think about this, Epictetus, Tetus, I think it is, and Enchiridion. You can do a search for that, which I find difficult to read. And then lastly was Seneca. And because Seneca was translated from Latin to English as opposed to from Greek to English, and also because he was a very accomplished writer and a playwright, I find his readings to be more memorable and actionable. So it came to me through a number of different vehicles. So the study of war and war strategy. Second was through philosophers like Thoreau and Emerson, who are also fans of Seneca. And then thirdly was when I was minimizing or when I was really embracing minimalism and trying to eliminate the trivial many, both materially and otherwise. From a business standpoint, Seneca is very constantly cited by people in the less is more camp of philosophical thought. So those were. I basically came to Seneca through several different directions. The other was, and part of what appealed to me about Seneca was the similarity I found between his brand of Stoic thought and the brands of Buddhism and Zen Buddhism that were practiced by people like Musashi Miyamoto, who's he wrote the Book of Five Rings and is also the most famous Japanese swordsman in history.
Did you also read James Stockdale?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if we're talking about Stockdale, the same Stockdale who cites, you said James Stockdale, right?
Yeah.
From the who was at a POW camp.
Yeah, in Vietnam. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So he would be one of dozens of military leaders who have embraced Stoicism both to survive and to win in combat.
Do you have a favorite letters of Seneca?
Offhand, it would be hard for me to choose a single one. The first that comes to mind is On the Shortness of Life, which is, I suppose, more of an essay, but I've read letters from a Stoic at least 50 times, and I tend to find different letters appropriate and helpful at different times.
There's a difference between reading and there's a difference between doing. How do you apply this in your daily life?
It's really, for me, the base foundation of an operating system for decision making, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I don't view philosophy as an idle form of intellectual masturbation. I really view it as good philosophy, as a set of rules that allows you to make better decisions. And what Stoicism helps you to develop is a value system that allows you to take risks, which I think is calculated risks, which I think is very effective for entrepreneurs. So in very simple terms, Stoicism, and by extension Seneca, teaches you to value only those things that cannot be taken away, meaning you would actively practice poverty, for example, subsisting on the meagerest of food and clothing for, let's just say, 1 week every 2 months. And the way Seneca would phrase it is all the while asking yourself, is this the condition I so feared? And that type of practice, and I do view it as a practice, just like you view meditation as a practice, and I don't think it's entirely coincidence that Marcus Aurelius's book is called Meditation. Helps you to live life offensively as opposed to defensively. So I would say that on a daily basis, I revert to some of the basic principles of Stoicism to make decisions about where to invest my time, which relationships to cultivate, which relationships to sever, so forth and so on.
And it's also making you comfortable with failure, which is kind of like the essence of entrepreneurship, is being okay with failure and with having fears.
Yeah, absolutely, and it also helps condition you so that you don't have emotional overreactions to things that you can't control, and I think that's very, very helpful, critical even, not only for competitive advantage but for quality of life.